Hello everyone, welcome to another video of FFL 24/7. Today's video is going to be another very exciting video because we are going to be taking another look at Alibaba stock. And why Alibaba stock? Because Alibaba stock has done something that it hasn't done in a long while, for almost last 1 year. So it has done something special very recently that I wanted to share with you guys. So if you guys are holding Alibaba stock, or if you are planning to buy into Alibaba stock, or if you are wondering when the recovery for Alibaba stock is going to start happening, so you guys might want to watch out for these couple of updates that I want to share with you guys. So let's get right into the video. So the graph is going to get a little bit very technical from this point onwards, because there is some really good technical stuff that I have been tracking with Alibaba stock. So I want to make sure you guys are all on board. So let's get right into it. So here, I know you guys might be wondering that there is a lot going on and it might be looking a lot confusing to you guys, but I want to make sure you guys are following along. So this whole peak euphoria, I know we hit around 300 plus at some point in the past, but that is all irrelevant. That is past and that is history. That is not what we are here to focus on. So what we are here to focus on is this last bit of most recent price action. So that started from around October 2022 till date. So this is the most recent price action that is of relevance to us for as of now, because that has been dictating the most recent price action and dictating what is happening with Alibaba stock as of right now. So I am going to zoom into this area so you guys have a better picture of what I want to show you guys. Okay, so this is what I mean. So I want you guys to focus on these two trend lines. So this is like kind of a chopstick pattern that I have been calling out in my last videos as well, if you guys have been following. So and also focus on these circles that I have already highlighted. So this was actually the channel that they were squeezing this Alibaba stock into, like in a very tight and narrowing channel that was in a downward direction. It was a downward spiral that Alibaba stock was in for almost like 1 year and a half. And the reason this channel, this downward channel, these two downtrend channels were very important is because if you notice all these circles, these were the hit points. So every time Alibaba stock has hit either of these channels, if the upper one was acting as a strong resistance, every time we hit this upward downtrend channel, we saw a rejection, and every time we saw a touch of this bottom downtrend channel, we seem to find some support every single time. So like from here, for example, every single time, so the top and bottom, this has been acting as a very strong support and resistance level for Alibaba stock, but nevertheless this was in a downward direction. So this was kind of looking like a more like a price discovery that they were doing for Alibaba stock, that it becomes like a value stock for them all over again. So why this channel is suddenly even more important, and what Alibaba stock has done very differently most recently is, if you guys notice, we have broken out of this channel very recently and very nicely. So I did point it out in my last videos, even though we were hoping that there is a possibility we might be doing another touch of this bottom downtrend channel, but that did not happen. And like we pointed out, that this $71 area might be providing us a very strong support region, because if you notice, we are starting to form a very strong demand zone in this $71 area. We bounced quite heavily at around this December 2023, and then again we broke down below this in January 2024, but we also came back above, and then we tested it a couple of times already. So this $71 area is now starting to act as a very strong support for Alibaba stock. So let me zoom into this a little bit more so you guys can see. So before we zoom into a little bit more into this area, so I want you guys to also make a note of this bottom that we have seen at around the $58 mark. So apparently for now, $58 is still has been the bottom that Alibaba stock has seen back in 26th of October 2022. So we haven't really tested this bottom again yet. So that is why we were still concerned, that we were hoping to do like a double bottom kind of dip of this $58 level test, but that has not happened yet. We were hoping that this downward channel is going to continue for a little bit longer time until we do a test of this $58, but that clearly has not happened, and $71 has turned out to be acting as a very strong region of support for Alibaba stock. So let's zoom into this area and see what is happening here. So in this area around here, three things are going to be playing a very major role that we need to keep our focus on. First, obviously, if you guys notice, so these two trend lines that we were tracking for a long time, Alibaba stock has clearly broken out of this long-term channel that we were squeezed into. So this is now forming a new pattern, a new trend that we have to figure out. So but at least for now, this downward channel has been broken. So what needs to play a role now? So if you notice, this $71 is going to continue to play a major role. And another thing to keep a note on is this resistance right above $78 that is playing another major role. So between 71 and $78 looks like this is going to be an accumulation range for Alibaba stock. For how long, that we need to figure out. But other than this, one more thing that we need to pay attention to is this blue trend line. This blue is another major, very long-term downtrend that Alibaba stock still has to break above. And not just that, this is also coinciding with this another 200-day moving average. This other blue line that you guys are watching is the 200-day moving average. So this coinciding with this long-term resistance. So there are still some barriers that Alibaba stock has to break out of, but nevertheless, breaking out of this long-term downtrend channel that was playing a comprehensively very nice role in dictating the price action. So this was one of the first very major win for Alibaba stock to get out of this long-term downtrend. And also, if you notice, so volume is also kind of, so this decreasing volume in one way is also pointing out in one way in a positive direction. And why I say that, it is because we are not seeing some continued sell-off happening with strong volume like we saw here on the earnings day. So we are not seeing that kind of sell-off with that kind of volume accompanied by. So what we are seeing now is we are seeing a new accumulation pattern happening with Alibaba stock. And again, now that things are also changing in terms of the US and China relations, and things are kind of softening, the China is kind of also softening the tone towards the US, that they do not want to participate in any wars against US or any other country. So that is also going to look like it maybe is softening relations between US and China relations. And again, what we have been tracking is at what point to these big institutions and big large investors that Alibaba stock is going to look like a value stock again. So maybe it looks like this $71 may have played some kind of a role in determining the price action, because that is the price action that got us a break out of this long-term strong downtrend channel. And also, let me zoom out a little bit. So this $58 level of support was the bottom that we saw back in October 2022 was also very critical, because this has also been a historical bottom. If we go all the way back, if you guys notice, so we have also bounced from this level twice back in 2016 and 2015. So this $58 has been a historical bottom, a double bottom for Alibaba stock as well. So that is why we were also expecting in our last analysis of Alibaba stock that there is a possibility we might be testing this $58 level of support one more time before doing another run up. But apparently this $71 has gotten us a break out of this long-term downtrend channel that we were watching, this chopstick pattern that we were watching for a long time. So things are starting to change, definitely, for sure, for Alibaba stock. But what ideally we want to see is we need to break above this $78 level of resistance first. So this is going to be our first major barrier, our first major challenge that we have to break out above, and that is going to put us very closely to this long-term downtrend channel and also this 200-day moving average. That is where the fate is going to be decided. If we are able to break these two barriers, then I think the things are going to change for Alibaba stock very drastically, and we are going to see a lot of sudden bullish movement coming back into Alibaba stock. And not just that, there is also one very cool thing happening in this pattern around here. So if you guys notice, this is also kind of forming a very small, not perfect, but some kind of an inverse small head and shoulders pattern. So if this head and shoulders pattern has to break out, this puts us right exactly around this major fib level of resistance that is at $82. And not just that, if you guys notice, there is also a gap here around this area in this range at $82. So the price target of this inverse head and shoulders pattern puts us right at this major fib level and also helps us to close this gap. That is where I am expecting we may be seeing a stock price to go. So just to summarize, so for the time being, we need to break out of the $78 level of resistance for sure, and I am seeing $82 as my price target basing on this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and also we have a gap to fill at this level. And if we are able to achieve that, then again, like I said before, we are going to be breaking out of all these heavy resistances. We are going to be breaking out of this 50-day moving average, 100-day moving average, and 200-day moving average, and also this very long-term downtrend. We will be breaking all of these resistances if we are able to get to $82, if we are able to get it close around that area. And that, I think, is going to signal to big and large institutions that there is a possibility of new and fresh influx of money floating back into Alibaba stock if we are able to break through these major barriers. So that is all I quickly wanted to share with you guys about Alibaba stock. If you guys like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.